So today we're going to dive into a really profound teaching from the Rebbe, drawing from Likutei Sichos. It unpacks one of the most intense confrontations in the entire Torah, and through it we're going to uncover a powerful strategy for turning life's toughest decrees into our greatest destinies. You know, there's this incredible story about a man who came to the Rebbe just completely weighed down by his problems. And the Rebbe gave him this amazing way to reframe everything. He said, your life isn't bad, it's just bitter. Think about it. Medicine can be bitter, right? But its whole purpose is to heal. That difference between something being inherently bad and something being purposefully bitter, that's the key to everything we're going to talk about today. So here's how we're going to break this down. We'll start with that biblical showdown in Egypt, then we'll uncover a really interesting paradox at the heart of it. After that, we'll get into the Rebbe's insight that just unlocks the whole thing. Then we'll bring it to life with a classic story, and finally, wrap it all up with a practical way you can apply this wisdom in your own life. Okay, so let's set the scene. We are at the absolute climax of a family drama that has been building for decades. Yehuda steps forward, ready to confront the second most powerful man in all of Egypt. This guy holds the fate of his entire family in his hands. What Yehuda has no idea about, of course, is that this powerful ruler is actually his brother, Yosef, who he sold into slavery years ago. The tension is just off the charts. Now, the Torah uses this one very specific, very powerful word to describe what Yehuda does next, vayigash. It means, and he approached. But this isn't just walking up to someone. This word implies a strategic, decisive move. He's ready for anything, a fight, a debate, a desperate plea. Yehuda is literally putting it all on the line. And right here, in this high-stakes, life-or-death moment, Yehuda says something odd. Something that seems totally out of place. And this brings us to the central puzzle we need to solve. He looks this Egyptian viceroy in the eye and says, "For you are like Pharaoh." Now, you have to stop and ask, why on earth would he say that? Yosef is the one giving them food. He's the one literally keeping them alive. Pharaoh, on the other hand, is the king, the symbol of the whole reason they're in this mess, the decree of exile. Why would you compare the solution to the source of the problem? It doesn't make sense. And this lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you have Yosef, the provider, the solution. On the other, you have Pharaoh, the one who made the decree, the symbol of the hardship. In Yehuda's world, and let's be honest, in our world too, these things seem like complete opposites. So what did Yehuda see that we might be missing? All right, this is where it all clicks. Let's get into the Rebbe's incredible revelation, which completely resolves this paradox. This is where the whole story pivots. So the Rebbe explains that in that moment of Vayigash, of approaching, Yehuda had this sudden flash of spiritual insight. He all of a sudden saw the deeper unity behind everything. He realized that the harsh decree, the Pharaoh, and the life-saving solution, the Yosef, weren't two separate things fighting against each other. No, they were two parts of the same single divine plan. The hardship was actually the vessel that was created to hold the solution. Now, there's a concept in Chassidic thought for this state of mind. It's called bitul. It's this idea of self-nullification. And really all it means is setting aside your own limited personal viewpoint, your ego, so you can see a much bigger, more unified truth. This is what allowed Yehuda to see the Yosef that was hidden inside the Pharaoh. To really bring this idea down to earth, there's a beautiful story told about the Baal Shem Tov. It's a perfect illustration of how this massive shift in perspective actually works in an ordinary life. So the Baal Shem Tov sees this old water carrier, and he's just struggling, dragging these heavy buckets up a hill and grumbling the whole time. The Baal Shem Tov asks him, "How are you?" And the man just lets it all out. "Terrible," he says. "My back aches, I'm old and tired, and this job is just killing me." He was completely stuck in the Pharaoh of his reality, just seeing the bitter hardship. Okay. So a few hours go by, and the Baal Shem Tov sees the exact same man on the exact same hill with the exact same buckets. He asks him again, "And how are you now?" But this time, the man's face is just lit up with a smile. He says, "Baruch Hashem, blessed is God. He's given me the strength to work, to provide for my family, and not have to be a burden on anyone." So what changed? Absolutely nothing on the outside. The buckets were just as heavy, the hill was just as steep. The only thing that changed was his internal perspective. He found the Yosef, the blessing of strength, of purpose, of self-sufficiency that was hidden inside the Pharaoh of his back-breaking labor. And that simple shift transformed the entire experience for him. And this really gets to the heart of it all. This isn't just an interesting analysis of a story from thousands of years ago. It's a practical tool for life. So how do we actually take this UDIS strategy and use it when we're the ones facing our own challenges, our own decrees? Well, it's basically a three-step process. First, you have to identify a pharaoh in your life. A specific frustration, a setback, something that's causing you stress. Second, and this is crucial, don't run away from it. Instead, you have to approach it, just like Yehuda did. It's a mental choice to engage. And finally, you have to actively look for and acknowledge the hidden Yosef inside of it. You have to ask, what strength is this challenge forcing me to discover? What opportunity for growth is hiding in this difficulty? You see, when we start to practice this, we actually begin to transform the nature of our challenges. We stop seeing them as punishments and start seeing them as purposeful parts of a much bigger plan. And that leaves us with a final question to really think about. What happens when we learn to see our greatest prisons not as places of confinement, but as our greatest classrooms for growth?